Hey, hey. All right. We are here. I'm here with one of my iconic clients, and she's going to be sharing a little bit what it's like to work together and how she helps real estate agents. And we're going to be recording a podcast here. So um, it is live. If you have any questions or comments, you're welcome to post them below. If we'll hopefully try to catch them and we'll try to answer them live. But we're first going to record this podcast. So if you're watching the replay, go ahead and place your comments there as well. Any questions? And Jan and I will come back and go through and answer any questions that you have for us. But today on the podcast, we have the listing queen herself, Jan Copeland. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Afton.
So happy to have you here. So I met Jan last summer, I believe. Mm-hmm. Why don't you just share how we met?
Yes.
And how we got to know each other.
All right. Well, I'm so excited to be on your podcast and be live with your people. Hello. I met Afton on Instagram because last October, I wanted to have an in-person event, and it was called Listing Queen Live. And what I wanted to do, and what I always want to do, is infuse fun. Because ladies, in this business, it could be heavy, it could be isolated. And I'm like, I'm going to create a room, an environment that's going to be fun. And I thought, ooh, fashion is so fun. So I went to Instagram, and I believe that I was doing all kinds of searches for fashion stylist that had anything to do with real estate. And Afton came up, and I loved your, I looked at, I stalked your Instagram, and I just liked what I saw. I liked your style. And I called, or actually I messaged her, and within like an hour she was back, and she was like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. So and then we both are fashion majors, whatever. So that's how, like, your Instagram, however your bio was amazing, Afton.
Thank you. Yeah. And also Jan is a coach for real estate agents, and she is an amazing coach. And we just kind of clicked on so many levels with that aspect. However, we both love fashion. We have that fashion bug in us. Mm-hmm. And I found it interesting too, how you had recently said that you were a fashion major and then you forgot about it. And, working together, it kind of like triggered that again. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, you graduate college, I'm a fashion major, you were too. And like fashion is everything. And you know how like, I worked for Barbizon, and, Barbizon's kind of like a scam. Like, you go in there, you think you're going to be a model. And I did some modeling, but really it was a school, whatever. But anyway, so they always wanted to dress me in professional and like what I called goody. And I'm like, no, I want my hair asymmetrical. Remember back in the 80s, I wanted asymmetrical. I wanted like funky and everything. And anyway, so I worked retail for many years. And then, of course, you get out in the world, you have children, you raise a family. And what happened with me was I just kind of poured everything into my kids and my business. Next thing you know, I'm like, what are these rags I'm wearing? So that's why I was so excited that Afton, said, hey, let me style you. And it was just amazing. And it brought back so much fun into my life. Fun and just a more certainty that I know that this is good for me. Like, I know these colors are good for me, and it's not like I have to question. So anyway, it was a revitalization, a re-energizing for me.
I love that because I had a very similar experience. I went to college, got my degree. So my degree is in fashion merchandising, worked in the industry, had children, and kind of lost myself along the way. I wouldn't say that I lost myself back then. If you would have talked to me, I was just pouring into my kids, pouring into, family life. And it was just one day I just decided, I got out of the mom phase of mom haze. It was hazy, but I didn't know it. And I just was like, you know what? I'm going to start wearing clothes that I love.
Mhm.
And I started doing that, and I started to feel more alive again.
Yeah.
Like energizing would be the word. Like I started to find myself again.
Yeah.
And that's actually the fuel that got me started to open my image consultancy 5 years later. So that was in my when I was 40 years old, is
Yeah.
when I was like, hey, I'm going to start being intentional about what I'm wearing. 5 years later, I opened my image consultancy. So that was 20. I don't want to do math right now. But and then just really have this heart to help other women feel the same way, because I
Mhm.
didn't know about enclothed cognition at the time. Like
Mhm.
we've always heard like dress for success, dress for the job, but I didn't know, and the studies hadn't been done yet,
Mhm.
how much what we wear affects our brain.
Yeah.
Did you notice any of that once, I shared with you about, the psychology of clothing and how it
Mm.
makes you feel and how you show up? Did
Yeah.
you notice anything with that?
Yeah. Well, at the event, I felt amazing because I knew that it was good for my body. And, in the 50s, your body's not what it was in the 20s. So I felt like, that surge of this, I'm back. I felt like I was back. Right. And then from stage, one of your talks was about, well, it wasn't about this specifically, but you opened up the talk talking about sharing about the halo effect. And I'm like, wow, the halo effect. And you could say it much more eloquently than I can. But my what I heard was how someone perceives you in one moment is how they perceive you're going to be in all things. And I was like, ooh, that's good. And so you talk about intentional. I am very intentional, and it's fun, and it's not stressful. I don't feel like it at first. And because I was like texting you, I'm kind of scared. It's just getting back into it. But now it was just amazing your help in reinvigorating that to me.
Yeah. So the halo effect is, you said it, um, like totally on point. One of the common sayings that you might hear a lot is, how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Mm-hmm.
The halo effect is like, people are going to assume if you are dressed and styled and polished, you're going to be polished in your work. You're going to be able to know what's the latest and greatest in the homes, if that's what your client's looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's so many different psychological reasons of why what we wear matters. And I don't want people to hear like, oh, we're dressing for other people, because that's
Mm-hmm.
not what we're doing. We're
Mm-hmm.
dressing for ourselves first. And then, you know, we're creating an image that's authentic to us, but also that is sending the message that we want,
Yeah,
because you don't want to be turning clients away that could be great for you,
that's
right?
right.
Like
Yeah,
as a real estate agent, we want to make sure we're using our style for us
yeah.
and not having it work against us.
That's right. And the word trust. I totally hear you, and you and I are so aligned that the last thing I would want anybody to think, and I know you as well because you just said it, is that, oh, we're dressing like for success. We're dressing for the job we want. We're dressing for, for someone else other than us. And the thing is that as you know, identify what options we have. Okay, here are the silhouettes that look good on you. Here are the colors that look good on you. And then from there, we get to choose, and there's a million options. So it's like within the not parameters, but within the knowing which you gave me, then I'm able to take my God-given uniqueness and how I want to present myself, how I want to present myself as an authority. Then I can make it all work. And before, I mean, I don't think I looked terrible before, but I wasn't sure, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like all these women realtors that are going to be watching this. It's like you want your buyers and sellers to be sure. You want them to know that you know. And so that is the benefit of working with Afton, just like it's the benefit of choosing you as the listing agent or the buyer's agent, because you want them to know that you know. And so the way that you present yourself is your brand, and you want it to evoke authority. So it all flows together.
Yes, I love how you just laid that out. You're so good at doing that. That's why
Oh, thanks.
when at your live event, when you were up there on the stage talking, I loved hearing you speak.
Thank
You're
you.
you're so amazing. Um, let's see. What what's changed possibly in the way that you're coaching your clients,
Mhm.
knowing that what you just said, like how important our image is?
Yes, yes. Okay. So I have a 4-part kind of framework that I just, you know how, like, as we're entrepreneurs, we have these ideas and these principles that we learn. And then we're like, how can I make this make sense? So mine is CBCA. Okay. And this is what creates trust in yourself. And so trust in you and trust for you. Okay. So the first one is conviction that you are in your God given uniqueness and his will for your life, which is your purpose moment. Okay. So that's the first C. Then B is brand. This is where you go all in unapologetically you in your trust moment. Like you're going to trust that how God made you and the way that I want to present myself, right? With how, in totality, how I want to present my brand, then that is the B. Then the next one is a C, your connection. That's your service moment. And, so all this makes sense. I'll tell you at the end, but that's like your service moment. And that's where you connect, right?
Mm.
Well, I'm sorry, your connection is your service moment. Okay, so that's the C. And then the authority. So once you have your conviction that you are where God wants you to be, and now you can just go for it because you're not doing it for you, you're doing it to impact others. Then that leads you to your unapologetically you, unique God-given brand, which leads you to do what? Connect to people in service. And now I have all that aligned, I can be in authority, and that's my leadership moment. And so what you do for iconic realtors is you are helping them in each one of those. You're helping them understand who they are by their body that God gave them. You know what I mean? It is what it is. And then your brand, your connection, like, so everything is just beautifully ties back to excellence. And so I feel like many women realtors are go, go, go. Like I have a client that makes over $1 million, $1.1 million, $1.2 million. And she said, I lost myself decades ago.
Mm.
And she said, I don't care how I dress, whatever. And she was at that event because she's my client. And it's positively affected her. And she's seen it in the way she feels, and in she's able to set standards now that she hadn't been really before, because she was always, and now she's like, oh, I'm a little polished right now. So I can see it really being the pièce de résistance, or however you say it. Like that's the style is the level of detail that really allows you to step fully into your authority.
Yeah, it's not superficial.
Yeah,
It's
it's not.
it's an important piece of your brand style is the wording that I use. And when you mention, too many women are not showing up
Mhm.
in their full authority, in their full belief,
Yeah.
and some of it is because of, like how you said, like they're just lost.
Mhm.
Like they're not lost as, people, but they're, so buried with all their other responsibilities and duties. It's almost like I don't have time for that. And
Mhm.
when you take the time and put that oxygen mask on first for
Mhm.
yourself
Mhm.
in every aspect, it's just as important to plan what you're going to wear as it is to plan the food that you're going to eat. It's affecting how you're showing up. And what, I do for Michael, this is what we did for you, is you got your colors so
Mhm.
that you were confident in the colors that look good best on you. Like you're 100% right. You looked great before. And that's what the thing about style is, it doesn't mean that you don't have style or you don't look good before, but just making some tweaks and being intentional about what you're doing can
Yeah.
make a huge difference in how you feel and how you're showing up,
Mhm.
just by being intentional about it and noticing how we're feeling in different situations to help us, step into our authority, God-given purpose,
Yeah.
service. We don't have to think about ourselves because we've already taken care of
Oh,
ourselves.
that's so good. That's so good. And I think that women, if you have a child, then you're post pregnant and you go back to work and you feel frumpy, or when you get older you feel frumpy, or whatever it is, we sometimes feel frumpy, and that's when it's easier to pull out the you know rubber, whatever, you know what I mean, like the stuff that is not making you feel good. And when you're an entrepreneur, as you know, it's like, man, it's hard. You're out there, and when you feel like poopy doop, as I say, then other people are going to catch that energy, because everything is the law of energy, is that even this pen is exuding energy. And so we want to have all the chips working for us. And so I never thought fashion was superfluous or like an add-on because of my major. But I can imagine, many women might think that, but it's an essential.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of women do. And
Mhm.
and and when they do change the way they see the impact of fashion, it can make a big difference.
Yeah,
As okay, so I have a question for you.
sure.
As someone who inspires and coaches others to be their best, what's the one thing that you wish more real estate agents understood about showing up as their most iconic self?
Mm, that's so good. What do I think is most important about them showing up? That are intentional about it. Because I believe, after coaching hundreds of women, because I only coach women, is that they're so darn hard on themselves that they hide and they want to blend in. If not hide, they just want to blend in. And there's some fear around making a declaration that something is true, for fear that somebody else will come along and say, I don't think that's true, right? But when you say your iconic self, to me, your iconic self is your most certain self, right? And so when you show up your most certain self, you have more guts. And, we're both Christians. And for me, that's why my first step is conviction that you are in your God given will for his life right now. And when you are that way and you trust that you are, then you are able, then we're able to say, hey, God, help me to be more certain and to be more bold, because I feel like in this industry, it's a echo chamber. And
Mm.
they just, when one says it, then they all say it, and it's the good old boy, and it's the bro marketing and all of that stuff. And I feel like what I do and what you do is allowing women to, yeah, you know what, let's be the feminine women that we are, without apology, and let's just be ourselves. And I just want to tell you a story about one of my clients. One of my clients was in Florida, and she is young, she's probably 30, 31. And she was at a country club, and she was in a really nice kind of casual, like a brunch kind of outfit. And she met this man who they were talking about how he was going to sell his house, and he had, I don't know, it was over $2 million. And so she made the listing appointment. And before the listing appointment, she went out and went to Nordstrom and got, God knows what, this phenomenal like business suit. And so she goes there, and she felt a little awkward because it's not really, like, she felt kind of weird in the outfit, whatever. Make a long story short, she didn't get the listing. So she
Mm.
called back the guy, and she's like, gosh, I thought everything was going well. And he goes, well, I have to tell you, one of the reasons I asked you to come is because I liked your style. And he's like, I didn't mean your fashion. I just meant your way, like your authority, your essence, like just the way that she was. And he goes, and it was off.
Mm.
He said, when you walked in, I felt like you weren't the same person that I talked to at the country club. And so,
Yeah.
and that's such a good story. I use it all the time because I want women to know here she is thinking that to get a 2 point something million listing, she's got to go get the business suit. And he was like, he just said, I don't know what it was, but something was off.
Yeah, I love that so much because I do believe that when we wear something that feels authentic to us, it's our style, and our clothes is our style, but it's also everything about us is our style, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
So when she put on that outfit, she was not herself. She
Right.
wasn't her. Her brain didn't work on that level. There was some insecurity there. Her wardrobe was working against her instead of for her, even though she bought what she thought people expected.
Yes.
It wasn't her. And who we are is our differentiator
Mm-hmm.
from other realtors. From, that is what makes you you. That is what's going to make you stand out, not trying to fit into a mold that doesn't feel like it's you.
Right. Right.
Oh gosh, so good.
Yeah, that story, and it broke my heart because she's so good and she's awesome. She's fine, but it was a good learning moment for her, me, and all my clients because I tell that story a lot. And now
Yeah,
all your
and
listeners.
right. Now the real estate icons know it too here.
Yeah.
So good. Let's see. What other questions do I have for you? Well, one of the things that I was thinking about, and I don't think you had thought about it before, so I wanted to bring it up, but we had talked about your contrast level
Mm-hmm.
with the
Pattern.
difference between your hair color and your skin color
Mm-hmm.
and your backdrop. Because the way that you designed your backdrop and the clothing choices that we made for you just looked beautiful. Like your whole setup was gorgeous.
Thank you.
And so let's talk about a
Mhm.
little bit, because I believe you had said you had made some changes to it
Yeah,
after we
yeah.
had talked.
Well, because I never really thought about it, and I don't do events a lot. That was my third event ever in almost 8 years. Um, And when I talked to you about it, you were like, okay, what's your backdrop look like? And I was like, good question. I didn't even really think about it. But that's the beauty of hiring a pro because everybody commented on how just me up there and you and all the speakers, because all the speakers asked me, what's the backdrop look like? So that they knew how to shine against what is pink, of course, what is pink, but what shade of pink. And so it made the difference for the show to look flawless. And to your point, and our point about this halo effect is that, and I'm a listing queen, so like I teach realtors how to be listings heavy. But when you think about what a seller wants, they want a flawless, what I call seamless selling system or experience. And so that's kind of what the backdrop allowed. And it was really everything because you asked about the lighting and there were all these factors that I didn't even think about. So that was good. And then where I thought you were going was I love patterns. I like craziness. I want to stand out. As a former fashionista, and I love interior design. I love decorating my house. And it was so neat knowing that, like, I don't know Prince, but like the one that you said is good for me is the one that I wore. Like I wouldn't wear anything with yellow. Like, I don't even know. Like, guys, I am challenged geographically. I am challenged nature wise. I don't know much. I know business. I know fashion design, interior design. But anyway, it made a huge difference. So it was way beyond the clothing.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I loved it.
Thanks.
All right. So you've helped so many agents step into their listing queen potential. From your perspective, why is investing personal style such a powerful way to elevate a real estate agent's career and attract luxury clients? I know we kind of talked about this,
Yeah.
but if there was any must-dos for women,
Mm-hmm.
thoughts?
Well, in order to perform as a leader, you have to lead. And so when you are leading, you have to have a position, right? Because followers don't have a position. Followers are like, what's he saying? What's she saying? I'm going to go with one of them. Well, if you want to be a leader, which is an iconic agent, getting the luxury listings, helping the luxury buyers, you've got to have a stand. You've got to have a position. And the first impression will tell someone what your position is, be it confident, a little wobbly. And I know that when you were at the event, one of the best things, everybody, it was so much fun. Afton, you were sharing how to position your body for pictures. And everybody was like, did you record that? And I'm like, dang, I wish I would have, But
I thought you did. Dang it.
no, well, I know, but what I paid for, she didn't give me everything. So yeah, I don't know. But anyway, but I guess what I'm saying is like, Afton is the whole package. It's like she's up there saying, and when you want to look thinner, this is what, and I'm not going to even pretend I know because I don't. This is how you move, position your body. And, ladies and, icon agents, it's like we get so worried about the words. The words can be silent, right? Or that is not the main thing people, prospects, luxury buyers and sellers are looking at. They're looking at how is she walking? How is she entering a room? How is her body language? How is her tone in what she's saying? Because as you go up in authority and leadership, you take pauses and you're good. You're good. You don't need to fill up all the space. And so I just believe the flawlessness of the details, that is the benefit of Afton. I really, really believe that. And, it's the whole thing because you really think about, like, I don't know, you would even tell them what to have with them. Like you told me about my handbag. Now, I thought the handbag had to match your shoes. No. And I'm like, oh, I'm digging this. So it's just so fun to be in the know. And that's what leaders do. They proactively put themselves in the know.
So you coach real estate women agents
Yeah.
to become listing queens.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do this? How do you help them become a listing queen?
Okay, so good. Well, listing queen, just so everybody knows, is a real woman realtor who is getting multiple listings each and every month, right? So then you're a queen. You are known as a listing queen. And when I got my license, it took me 6 months to get my first closing. It was a buyer. It wasn't a listing. But after that, I never had less than 3 closings a month. And in fact, the highest I ever had was, I think, 16. And I went on to make millions as a real estate agent before I, went over to be a coach. And the reason that I want to focus you women on listings is because listings magnify your brand and they multiply your brand. Because when you have a listing, it's on Zillow and on the internet everywhere 24/7. You can be sleeping and someone's going to discover your name because you have a listing. And it also allows you to have your branding front and center. So I believe, and I know I can't speak for you. I kind of think you're like that. You help people with their colors, because their brand colors, because of what goes with them, and their face, because your face is your brand. This is my brand right here. And so I just think that listings is the easier lifestyle. When I was a listing queen, I had a team and I didn't work weekends. I had my team taking open houses. I did all my business Monday through Friday. And it's just a beautiful lifestyle. And what I call the listing queen lifestyle is making extraordinary money, serving extraordinary clients who respect you while living an extraordinary life. So the way that I do it is exactly what I just said. We start with your God-given purpose, because we have to get your eyes and your brain off of obsessing on you and get it on obsessing on other people, specifically sellers. What are they thinking? What are they afraid of? Okay. Then we go over to the brand and we connect, because the conversation is the quickest path to cash. And then as you stand in your authority, you're able to ask amazing questions and listen and then give them exactly what they want through, it's really an infusion of God and psychology, neuroscience, and sales acumen. So we just put it all in a bowl. We stir it
Mix
up
it
and
up,
we come out with Listing Queen.
and you create a listing queen. I love it.
Yeah.
How long does it take for them to be considered a listing queen when they're
Yeah,
working
that's
with
so
you?
good. Okay, so that's so good. Um, I believe that everything is subjective because if someone just get their license and they are able to secure one listing a month and they end the year at 12, that's a listing queen.
Yeah, they're celebrating that.
Bravo.
Yeah.
And if you already have like the 1.1 million, I'll tell you about that client. She averaged, because she had 46 listings. Okay. 46 listings and she had like 20 some buyers. Okay. So she did 60, almost 70 sides, but it was in the hustle. And it was people pleasing, taking over price listings and things of that sort. So, but when you're
Working days and nights and
oh
weekends
yeah,
and
and
Sundays
like,
and
you know, if somebody says, "But I really need to eke out every penny," she would take overpriced listings, 20,000 over, 40,000 over, and it was pure. You know, when you acquiesce and people please, it puts you in a position of hell, really, because now you're stuck holding the bag. So a listing queen doesn't do that. A listing queen has standards. She knows how to price, present, and position a home such that it'll bring in the highest number of qualified, motivated buyers so that I teach them to get their listings under contract in 14 days or less in any market. And they can guarantee that. Because, ladies, the way you guarantee it is with a little asterisk, like any other guarantee, because they've got to price it where you say it needs to be, and they've got to present it the way, right? So if you think it needs to be painted and they won't paint it, then they can't get that guarantee because you know the market. Listing queens know the market. So you could, I mean, you know, what I'm telling them is that within 60 days, you should have 2 to 4 listings under your belt within 60 days. If you know, like anything, study and take the actions that I recommend.
oh my gosh, that's
It doesn't
amazing.
take very long.
Yeah, and one of the things that I love to do is work with listing queens and then just make some little tweaks to their style
Mm-hmm.
and put a little bow on it and they're good to go. Like they're
Yeah.
out there and it's one way to, just kind of give yourself a pay raise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Start
Yeah.
attracting a little bit higher prices, but I
Yeah.
love working with Jan's clients because they are listing queens. They know what they're doing. They get excellent coaching from you. And then when they come to me, they're just needing a little help here and there. And we're just putting the packaging on their brand style.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like, perfectly packaged.
Yeah. And
Ready
they're
to
open.
go.
They're open. Right? Because, even at that event, it's like they were all like craving more Afton. They're craving more
Aw.
Afton, right? And so am I. So yeah, I think when you respect yourself, you will get more respect. And that's why what I was saying is, the way that I coach them is that it gives them more trust in themselves and trust for them from other people. And every year, the National Association of Realtors, what do you call that? Survey says that the people who sold their home hired the agent they trusted most. So trust is integral in the way that a woman realtor will execute their business.
Yeah, and picking out your wardrobe and feeling confident in what you're wearing, that
Mhm.
takes trust in yourself too. Like you got
Yeah,
to trust yourself before somebody else is going to trust you,
ab-
right?
absolutely.
And you work on one like a bigger picture. I work more on like their style because I don't know if this relates to being a listing queen, but you can go to Home Depot and see parts of a home, right? Like you see nails and walls and doors and curtains and all, everything that you'd put together to make a home. But that doesn't make Home Depot a home. You have to know how to put the pieces together in a
Wow.
way that is useful. And that's what I feel like I do with style. Like you have a closet full of clothes, but do you put it together in a way that is your brand style, the way that you love it, the
That's
way
so,
that it resembles your style?
that's so good. That is excellent. I love that. I'm going to use that. I love that. And something just came to my head. It's like, um, I just go back to over responsibility. I feel like the world is so loud that when you go into a listing, whether it's a $3 million home or a $1 million home or a $500,000 home, it doesn't matter. The woman agent usually listens to the story. Obviously, we need to understand what's going on. And then if the seller made a poor decision or, took HELOCs, home equity loans, and took all their money out, and then they're looking at you and saying, this is what we need. This is what we need to get. I feel like what you just said speaks to the fact that when you know how to put a house together, because you're like, Home Depot has the parts of a house, but it's not a home. And so I just want to encourage your listeners and watchers that when you're in a listing appointment and the seller is trying to dump all of their immaturity and poor choices and, hey, this is what I need out of the house, when you are taking care of the detail of the way you're presenting yourself and your brand, then you're able to say, you know what? I want to get you 10 million. Unfortunately, we have this thing called an MLS and we have this thing called, an appraisal. And so my job is to tell you the way it is and know that I want to get you the most money, whatever. So because I know that your listeners and your watchers are women, and I just know they struggle with the biggest problem with being a listing agent. They say, oh, I hate the discussions about price reductions. And I just want to tell them that when you take care of this, then you're like more in feeling more self-assured and confident. Then you can be like, okay, and have those really professional, calm discussions up front, and they will be well received because of your authority. And that plays like this, everything, helps you win over your sellers.
Yeah. I like what you said about like when you take care of you, then you're able to serve your clients better
Yeah.
because they'll remember the things that you've taught them when you're coming from a place of calm and confidence and not worried about how you look. You know what I mean? Like you've taken care of that, then you're going to operate at your height. Your brain's going to work at its highest level, and they'll remember, they'll be able to utilize what you've taught them, what you've coached them on. They've gone through this, listening to other people's. So what I love about group coaching, and I know that you do this, Jan, is that you hear similar situations. And even if you haven't gone through it, and you set them on the right path, you tell them, hey, this is what you want to do in this situation, and they'll remember that. So when they're in a tricky situation, and they're stepping in at their full authority, that's going to come to their mind. They're going to remember, okay, this is what Jan would tell me to do, because they're going to be,
And obviously, I don't think you can be in your full authority when you aren't assured in how you are presenting yourself, which is style, because that is, it, really is your brand. So if anybody's listening or watching and they feel like, I feel like I know real estate, but something is holding me back. It may be the way that you're presenting yourself, because you've been thinking, well, that doesn't really matter, but it really does.
So true. It matters what we wear. So how can they find you, Jan? How can
Okay.
they work with you? What if
Well,
they want to learn more?
yeah. So if you go to Instagram at the Listing Queens, that my link tree is there. Or if you're a Facebook lover, it's my name, Jan Copeland, and just hit me up on my personal. Um, um, and on there is also my link tree. And also in Facebook, we have a Facebook group called The Listing Queens. And so you can hop in there and send me a message, and I actually have something for your ladies, Afton, and that is a 5-day List More Homes training. And somewhere around this video, there will be a link for you to get into that totally invaluable 5 days of, intensive with totally being immersed in knowing how to be a listing queen. So I would welcome them to jump into that 5-day free training.
Yeah, you've got to get a hold of Jan's 5-day free trainings. I've listened to her trainings before. Well, I've seen you speak on stage, and I've listened to your trainings, even though I'm not a real estate agent. And I am blown away every time, every single time I hear you. I just love learning from you.
Thanks,
Like I
Afton.
said, even though I'm not a real estate agent. So, icons, you need to grab her 5-day training. You will learn something from each one of those days. So you'll want to listen to all 5 days for sure. I already know this for a fact. They need to get a hold of that. And even if you feel like you're already a listing queen, having the mastery of those essentials will only help you be even a more efficient, all those things like the freedom that you're desiring, looking for from learning those, being a master of those. Oh,
Absolutely. And you're the master of fashion and style. And I really am thankful to God that we met. So
me
excited.
too. What, it's so fun that we met online
Hmm.
and we've had partnerships. So you guys, you can find people who you are people online on social media and connect with them, find your clients online.
Yeah.
There are your perfect partnerships. If you're doing it right, if you're doing, what are the 4 things,
So
Jan, that you taught us?
the conviction, the brand, the connection, and in authority. Yes.
Yes. That's how you do it, ladies.
Thanks,
All right. Thank you so much, Jan, for being here today.
Aspen. It was so much
Appreciate
fun.
you.
Bye.
Until next time, think like a style icon, ladies. Bye-bye.